Hello, so today's lesson is coming straight from the AQE specification. You can see here that it says to investigate practically quarter turns, half turns and whole turns, and to understand the notion of angle in the context of turning. So there is where our lesson is coming from today on position, movement and direction. And don't forget, all of this AQE spec can be found on the Transfer Test Tutor website, which is dead handy when you want to see the sort of material that you need to cover. Right, without further ado, let's jump straight in and take a look at our first slide. So, before we begin, let's first consider some important language to make sure that we read or turn in the correct direction. The two key words we need to have clear in our mind are clockwise and anti-clockwise. Clockwise is the direction that the hands on a clock would follow. They rotate, which is just a fancy pants word for turn, to the right. Anti-clockwise is the opposite of this. This means that the turns would be in the opposite direction to the hands on the clock and the direction they would follow. So the turn would be to the left. Next, we'll put this language to use when we explore a half and a quarter turn. So let's begin by considering the direction of the turn. Take a look at the arrow that indicates the direction of the turn, and hopefully you'll see that the arrow is turning the same direction as the clock hands, that is, to the right or clockwise. Next, let's consider how far it has turned, and by this I mean how far of a complete 360 degrees or full turn it has made. This is where we would have turned all the way around to face the same direction we began. You can see that the diagram shows it has a quarter of a full circle. So now we describe this as a quarter turn clockwise. Another way of describing this is by describing the number of degrees that it has turned, followed by the direction turned. So now we can add that we have turned 90 degrees clockwise. In this example, nearly everything is the same, but can you spot something that has changed? Hopefully you'll have spotted that the direction of the turn is going in the opposite direction than our last example. It is turning anti-clockwise. So we can describe this as a quarter turn anti-clockwise or a 90-degree anti-clockwise turn. Next up, we have the half turn. Again, begin by considering the direction of the turn. In this case, clockwise. So here we have half of a complete turn, which is half of the full 360, which is 180 degrees. So now we can describe this as a half turn clockwise or 180 degrees turned clockwise. In this example, you can see, just like before, it's still a half turn or 180 degrees, except this time the direction is anti-clockwise. So once again, we can describe this turn as a half turn anti-clockwise or a 180 degree turn anti-clockwise. In this little knowledge organizer, we can see the common turns in each of the directions, both clockwise and anti-clockwise. Now, let's take a look at how this information is used in a transfer test style question. In this example, we've added an extra layer of difficulty by beginning the turn facing north-east. So we need to have a good knowledge of compass directions in order to help us. We are then asked to turn anti-clockwise through 405 degrees. So immediately we know that we'll be making at least one full turn. So we can imagine facing northeast and turning anti-clockwise 360 degrees in one full turn. Of course, we're back facing northeast, but importantly, we're no longer having to turn 405 degrees, but only the remainder of the anti-clockwise turn. A quick calculation on the test paper would show that 405 degrees minus 360 degrees leaves you with 45 degrees still to turn in an anti-clockwise direction. So now we know that a quarter turn is 90 degrees, so we're going to take that information to work out that 45 degrees is going to be half of a quarter turn. So we're taking half of a quarter turn or a 45 degree turn from northeast in an anti-clockwise direction, leaving us facing north. So our answer in this question is north. So hopefully you can see that it's important to get familiar with the language of movement, position and direction. That is quarter turns, half turns, full turns, both clockwise and anti-clockwise, so that you can get used to this information when it's presented to you in trickier scenarios. Okay, well done for sticking with it to the end. Sometimes it is worthwhile watching the video twice just to secure your new knowledge or to recap on some things you're not quite sure about. Or, at the very least, so you can read this incredibly bad dad joke twice.